Sure, you know, say, without Malam Nasser El-Rufai, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not be president today. This man stick a neck out for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in fight for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when all the odd dey against our president. Now this man stand with him 2 legs, fight to make sure say our president become president today. When Muhammadu Buhari and Emefiele come with the policy of changing the Naira note, now El-Rufai kick against them. El-Rufai shout, El-Rufai fight. El-Rufai make sure say that policy no hold. Okay, El-Rufai make sure say he go round, he make sure say begin make noise. Say that policy no hold, because now the only thing we dem for use against our president today. Now today, nobody dey hear the voice of Malam Nasser El-Rufai. I know say many of us will believe say the northerners are all what? Betrayal. But in the case of this man is somebody who will say once he love you or he like you, he go stay with you through thick and thin. And at the same thing what this man do with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he stay with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Even when the Senate reject him, when they nominate as minister, when the Senate reject him, okay, this man no talk anything. He just dey very, very quiet. Although me I know say that reject you Senate reject him. Now because they notice say this man dey very, very powerful, and they know say if they say they give a Senate or they give a minister, say this man will do some kind things for Nigeria. So the people wey know wetin power be, and then make sure say they don't allow this guy to enter as a minister. If we even do pass Wike, that one Wike do not small. You understand? This man he know how to use power. So I believe say now what some people see, we make sure they say this guy, if he enter this our president cabinet, say he go do some kind of things wey go spoil things, because the guy no dey look anybody face. So if you believe say this man stay with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I beg talk am for the comment section, we could discuss together.
Welcome back to Eke React. My people, I'm back with another trending topic in Nigeria. So my people, waiting this up. It be like say political wahala don't start again for Nigeria. Or not say El-Rufai don't talk say Tinubu fit suffer the same thing wey happened to Goodluck Jonathan for 2015. Una remember as Goodluck take lose election because of economic wahala, insecurity, and even him own people turn against him. So now the question be say Tinubu go, fit escape this kind of trap? Abi history one repeat himself. So for this video, Arise News and El-Rufai break everything down for everybody. What El-Rufai said and how it's even possible that it's going to affect Tinubu. You guys remember that Northerners have a big role to play. So even if they are going to rig election, they still need people to support them, for the rigging to look real. So, but if people no support them, it's going to be somehow. And Nasir El-Rufai was that guy that, gave Tinubu all the things that all the support that he needed during the 2023 election. So now he's coming back to, remind Tinubu that what happened to Jonathan might also happen to him. Do you guys think that he's saying all these things because they didn't give him an appointment? Or do you guys think that what he said is the real, as in is going to happen? Or maybe is the real truth? Or maybe the power that the Northern Nigeria really have a big part to play during this coming 2027 election? Do you guys think that the government is still going to use the judiciary like they did during the last election? So make I know what you think on the comment section below. So without wasting much of your time, make I allow una watch the video. But before then, make sure you like this video so that YouTube recommend it to more people, and also subscribe to our channel, share, and make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you don't go miss any of our updates.
Where controversial former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasser El-Rufai, says the relationship between President Bola Tinubu and the North has deteriorated less than 2 years into his administration, warning that he may be given the Goodluck Jonathan treatment ahead of the 2027 elections. El-Rufai made the statement in a post on his verified X handle yesterday titled 2027 Southwest Tinubu's Supporters Playing with Fire, Part 1. The former governor's comments came as the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, yesterday urged Northerners nursing presidential ambitions in 2027 to bury the idea, insisting that Tinubu would serve his statutory 2 terms. El-Rufai had been attacking the ruling APC and the policies of the Tinubu government, even as political gladiators across party lines continued to mull the idea of floating a coalition capable of defeating APC. El-Rufai recalled that during the 2019 party primaries, he saw the way APC handled the primaries and wrote that if the party was not careful, it could go the way of the People's Democratic Party, which lost power after 16 years. He said he predicted that if APC did not return to its promised progressive path and ideology, but stayed obsessed with just winning elections at all costs, just like PDP, the ruling party could lose power at the federal level by 2031. Well, back in the news again is...
He never left, actually.
He never left.
He's been in the news in the last few days.
Since last week,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Ayo, your take on this weird, almost 2 years to the date to the next election,
Right,
and things are already this heated.
All right, so it was about this time 2 years ago when we were preparing for the general elections, if you recall, February 2023. And then, of course, it was May 29, 2023 that this administration came into power formally. And let me go back to former governor of Kaduna State, who has had a lot to get off his chest in the last few days, especially through his ex-post. I think he's Nigeria's own Trump, has the opportunity to just speak a lot on his social media platforms. I think if I want to summarize his speech, which interestingly starts with an admonition from the Bible, that is that, what's the admonition now? That it's too early. I'll get there. I'll get the quote. It's just skipping my mind now. No, when I saw it, I thought that's quite interesting. He was saying that it was important. So it's titled Southwest Tinubu's supporters playing with fire. That it is part of his speech. Now I remember. Sorry, I was trying to gather my thoughts. Was about it's a child that one loves that you correct, and that you chastise. And the Bible says that it's whom God loves that He chastises. So he used that admonition, but he actually started by saying that it was too early to begin to talk about elections in 2020 for 2027, but because of the urgency of the matter beforehand and because he loved the APC so much and he didn't want his party to lose, he had to come out and speak about it very quickly. The summary my own summary of what he says is that don't take the North for granted. North is still the kingmaker. In fact, the last part of what I said, he actually used those words and said that the lesson that President Tinubu should learn from former President Jonathan is the fact that the same mistake that President Goodluck Jonathan made was that he took the North for granted. He thought that they were very powerful in the South, and by ignoring and offending the North, and I paraphrase that, he lost that election. And he doesn't want the same fate to befall President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then goes on to say a number of things. Now, is he correct with regards to not taking the North for granted? Perhaps, of course. I mean, in many countries around the world, there are stronghold regions. There are places where if you want to win an election, you have to be very intentional because of many factors, largely because of the population. And, you can tie this with the call for creation of new states, because a lot of people have often said that it is, when we come to population mapping, it is skewed in favor of the North. But we cannot deny the fact that when we come to population, the North is important. And so that's what he was trying to drive home. Now, what are the agitations? In recent times, you've heard, talks around, the president's appointment hasn't really favored the North. The president has been quite, South-driven in his appointment. He hasn't done a lot of work. And if you want to look at the merit of that, it's not actually, fully true. If you look at the activities and his appointments, many of them have reflected the North. I mean, the Chief of Defense Staff is from the North, and we've also had interventions. In fact, and I'll wrap up very shortly, the First Lady has often gone to the North through her Renewed Hope initiative to give, to that part of the country. But it feels like they are not satisfied, they are not happy yet with what is going on. If the president must win the election, there are a lot of factors against him at this point, and I end here. Number one is the coalition that is being formed. There are talks with Atiku going around and talking to different people. Number two is this North agitation. He has to face that and see what he can do in the interim. Number three is if other strongholds, emerge in the next few days or months, to challenge his candidature. But I think, there's some merit to what El-Rufai said, but I also think it's also time for us to begin to review the fact that the North is not the only region in Nigeria. There are other regions that make up the nation that also determine, if they come together, who emerges as president.
So the truth is, what he's saying is something we should take seriously. And even more seriously because he mentioned the Jonathan treatment. And we all know the Jonathan treatment. What was the Jonathan treatment? A lot of people felt that Jonathan violated certain agreements because he was not supposed to come back for a second term. He said he was going to do one term. And the PDP had internal crisis and the North went against them. So pretty much that's the thrust of the conversation. And he kept on warning that we'll be like the PDP if we don't check our internal mechanisms. The question a lot of people have asked, like Boala we had here yesterday, will always ask El Rufai, is the fact that if you were in government, if they passed your security clearance, would you still say all of this? But let's also forget that a couple of people have pivoted out of the APC, the likes of Saliu Lukman, El Rufai, and this.
He's still in the APC.
I mean, pivoted in the sense that out of this government.
Okay.
Saliu Lukman has been a firm critic of this government. He's been calling for coalitions of other political parties that they can actually do it. El Rufai says he's still in the APC, but there are political talks here and there. And he has been criticizing this government big time. The truth has to be said. The North has a very big voting bloc. We can't deny that fact. In fact, after every election result, when you bring in what I call the Kardashian states, the KKK states, when those numbers come in, Katsina, Kano, Kaduna, those numbers are really huge, and they make the difference. And this El Rufai was a fundamental factor in winning those areas before, in the last election. Because we remember the work he did for Tinubu. In fact, we remember the controversy around it then when people were saying, was he going to support Tinubu or not? And finally got the support. Even when they had the Naira crisis, it was one of those that stood with Tinubu and all of that. So everybody thought it was a given he was going to serve in this cabinet. But what happened, happened. We've also heard a lot of discordant tunes out of the North. People are disgruntled and everything. I mean, take, for instance, the interview we had with Additional. After the announcement, Daily Trust carried it. The League of Northern Democrats did come out firmly. And I was at the party in Abidjan when I saw the likes of Shekarawu and all of that, a couple of other people there. So I'm not surprised that the League of Northern Democrats are saying, if he comes out, we'll support him. That's another political dynamics. Also, attaching with the political dynamics of Atiku Abubakar going to see Olusegun Obasanjo, my sources now tell me that that meeting was 100% political. And in fact, there were conversations made about concessions on who is probably going to take a VP role. So with all of this brewing, President Tinubu needs to watch it strongly. What is the counter-argument in favor of President Tinubu? A lot of his supporters say, he's a master strategist. Yes. Just like how a lot of people in Aso Rock supported other candidates, nobody gave Tinubu a chance to emerge in this last election, but he had played all of them and he played his game right. Last minute, he made those consolidations. A lot of people felt people within the villa tilted more towards Atiku Abubakar and other candidates. So, if that same northern base that came through for Tinubu, because Tinubu lost Lagos in the last election, he lost his base and all of that, he didn't do too well in a couple of other areas in the south, but when he came to the north, he consolidated his votes. If his major base that voted for him are talking like this, then he should take it strongly. What have been the arguments? The arguments have been, yes, he's been nepotistic in nature. They've said, in fact, they don't even say he gave positions to people in the south. They say he gave it to the Lagos boys. That's the argument. In fact, somebody was telling me the other day as regards, Kayode Okpeifa. Railway. Somebody would have thought he should have gone to the north or something. Then he's gone to another Lagos boy, as it were. But that doesn't shroud Kayode Okpeifa's competence. In all of this, what should he do? Tinubu needs to reach out. He's been doing a lot. I mean, there was a couple of, overtures being made, like you said, about his wife and all of that. But he also needs to reach out. But a lot of people are also confident that Tinubu is a master strategist. He's going to bring the North in before the election. He's going to consolidate his base, that other people are just talking. And the fact that most of the other political parties are not settled. In fact, you want to run an election in 2027, you are talking about a coalition, but people have not agreed. Obi wants to run, Atiku wants to run, Saraki wants to run, everybody wants to run. But Tinubu is the only constant factor here because he's incumbent.
All right, there's so much to take away and to unpack, but very quickly, I'll just focus on the things that really stood out to me. And to me, one of the major talking points was the fact that the conversation around zoning, as much as, yes, we are, both of these individuals affirmed that the zoning does need to stay in the south and it needs northern support. However, the spirit behind zoning is being deeply eroded. And that's because it's not a constitutional requirement. So for me, this conversation raised the question, is it time for us to constitutionalize the zoning formula? If you look back to the spirit that we had at the Lapal House when this was first conceptualized, and of course, yes, the military governments also had their own formula for power sharing and zoning. However, a lot of these dynamics are now at play because the zoning is a gentleman's agreement, yet there are few gentlemen in politics. Now, when we look at this and we unpack deeper what former Governor El-Rufai was saying, and he was saying, don't mess with the North, don't mess with the North. It also seems that it may play into the very same geopolitical and tribal politics that he is chastising in his statement. So we have to be careful about that. Now, when we look deeper into this issue and we look at the good luck Jonathan factor, as it is being called, or what happened in that election, we also need to remember that the dynamics and the demographics in Nigeria have also evolved drastically, even though it's been a short period of time. We know that in the 2023 election, for the first time, many young people voted. So that shifted the dynamics. That's how we saw the movement called the Obedient Movement coming, and we saw a new energy to elections that we hadn't seen before. So I think we also need to be careful about focusing entirely on the legacy politics of saying that it's the North and the North, and make the mistake of possibly ignoring stronger groups or groups that can contend with the hegemony of the North when it comes to the outcome of elections in Nigeria, that are emerging and that are solidifying and coming together. Yes, we've already spoken about the issue of coalition and so forth. Just yesterday, we were speaking to the spokesperson of the Labour Party on Newsday, that's Mr. Arabambi, and he was saying that Labour Party is not going into coalition with anybody and has endorsed Peter Obi as their candidate. And we asked them, so what will happen? Because all the other candidates are speaking of a coalition. Again, it comes down to the fact that Nigerian politics is a zero-sum game. Winner takes all. So it's now a competition of egos. As egos decide who is going to take the ticket, who will be the flag bearer, will they actually agree? Or will we end up in another situation, just like 2023, where the division of the opposition ultimately allows President Tinubu to continue for another term? So yes, it's important for us to remember the role that the North has played traditionally and in the legacy of politics, but it's also important for us to take a fresh analysis of how the dynamics of the new demographics of Nigeria now stand, and how those can easily tip things in anybody's favor if the right dynamic does not come to play.